Danny, you watch everything in the world, but right now, this evening in New York, this morning in Hong Kong, everyone's listening to hear what Donald Trump has to say about his plan to stimulate the economy. What are you expecting from this speech?
Well, I'm expecting the same kind of hyperbole, but really what I'm hoping for is that we're going to see something practical and doable that the Congress can actually pass. We've heard lots of executive orders, but we haven't actually on the table got a plan for tax cuts, a plan for repeal and replace Obamacare. We haven't got a plan for infrastructure spend. So I think we have to get past the nice lines and fake whatever and start to practically look at reality. And I think I just heard Mohammed Al-Arian saying that, you know, the big bang isn't what we want. It's going to be gradual. He, of course, is right. And I don't think we're going to see anything really taking effect for quite a long time. So what we've got tonight is lots of hope, but I want to listen for reality of what can happen. And also, you've talked about immigration reform. Are we going to see something that people on their Hill can actually pass? And to this point, I haven't heard anything. So lots of words, but practically, what can actually be done? Are we going to see tax cuts? Are we going to see infrastructure reform? Are we going to see labor market reform? Are we going to see education reform? And the question is not just words, will it be done in the next 9 months? That's really the big question. And I suspect we'll get to the end of it and we'll say, probably not a lot.
Well, you know, Danny, you certainly during the European debt crisis, you have been a big proponent of governments stepping back. The fiscal austerity doesn't work. And here comes Donald Trump, cutting taxes, getting ready to promote spending. At least that's what he says. Many people have criticized him for wanting to cut corporate taxes. They say that his tax plan will favor the wealthy. Broadly speaking, do you support the path that Donald Trump is going down if he comes through with the details to make it happen, you say, sometime this year?
Well, obviously, the question is, it's hard to know what I support until I see the details. I've actually argued for a really long time that austerity has been a mistake. An attempt to balance the budget has been a mistake now, with the economy really still not recovered from recession. Obviously, there are distributional things that we've talked about. So, yes, you can boost the economy, but do you actually help the people who really voted for Trump? Are you going to help the working folks or not working folks in the Rust Belts? So I think the practicalities are important. But the question is, you know, is this really going to happen? I think you would actually get lots of support from the Democrats as well for a big fiscal stimulus on what is actually important. We have to have a plan. What shovel-ready projects are there? So it's no good just saying I want to do a stimulus on the infrastructure. Which bit of infrastructure? We need actually plans to get that implemented. So supportive, yes, but the devil is absolutely going to be in the detail.
Yeah, you know, and he has been quite bold on a possible price tag, too, right? And infrastructure, Danny, is like $1 trillion over the next decade. He's talking about upgrading roads, bridges, airports. I mean, there's a bit of a sticker shock in terms of the price tag for this. What's the payout going to be like for this type of spending on infrastructure?
Well, I mean, you know, a trillion not actually that much if you think of actually the size of the Fed's balance sheet. And you spread that over a decade. I mean, he's talking today about a raise in spending on defense of about $65 billion. So let's not get carried away. I mean, it sounds a large number, but this is an absolutely enormous economy. What you spend it on is going to matter. Is this going to be a net addition, or is this just going to be credit? I mean, it's not absolutely clear. So we will see. But the question is, if you're going to start building a huge project and it's $1 trillion, that in the end, over a long period, doesn't do that much to this enormous U.S. economy.
What about for trade issues, Danny? Because there's a lot of talk of whether he's going to bring China into the conversation during this address to Congress. We've seen a bit of confusion here on what Stephen Mnuchin is saying about labeling China a currency manipulator. He really has no urgency to do so until possibly April or so. But you continue to hear the rhetoric from Donald Trump talking about China being the grand champion of currency manipulation.
Well, again, I think you have to start to ask for reality here. You've had Donald Trump saying sets of things on all sorts of stuff about trade, about NATO and other things, and then his cabinet members pulling back and contradicting. That's generating uncertainty. And I think we should step back to the things we talked about earlier. You were talking about earlier. We've still seen business investment being very soft because firms just don't know what's going on. Same thing in Brexit in the UK. So I think what we need to see here is certainty about the relationship with Europe, relationship with China, Russia, and elsewhere. So I think this big uncertainty thing is a big problem, despite the fact that one of the Fed governors today said, we can just look through the uncertainty and raise rates today. Well, I think that's a big, foolish mistake. So what I think Trump needs to do, calm nerves, make it clear to people what's going on, instead of the kind of panic mode that we've been in for the last 5 weeks.